nestled in the middle of the vast Atlantic Ocean. Far from North Carolina, Bermuda stands as a unique group of islands, distinct from both North America and the Caribbean. Welcome to Media. In this video, we will delve into the fascinating population history of Bermuda, the last place settled by humans. Before we proceed, don't forget to share and subscribe, and hit that like button. Once a pivotal British colony, Bermuda played a crucial role in English colonization and the transatlantic slave trade. Bermuda was discovered by accident in 1609 when a British ship, the Sea Venture, crashed there. Before that, the islands were considered spooky and were called the Isle of Devils by the Spanish and Portuguese. After the crash, English settlers realized Bermuda was a great place to live. In 1615, the British Crown took control of Bermuda, and a company called the Somers Island Company was in charge for many years. The island developed quickly with forts, parishes, laws, and even the cultivation of tobacco for export. The first people who settled in Bermuda came from different backgrounds. There were rich English planters, skilled craftsmen, and indentured laborers, basically apprentices or servants, and some folks taken from London's slums and jails. Even before Bermuda was officially settled, people of color had arrived. In 1603, a black crew member from a Spanish ship landed there, and in 1609, there were Native Americans on the ship that crashed. By 1616, the island had its first non-white labor force, a West Indian Carib and an African, brought either by the Dutch or the British, who controlled the slave trade in that part of the Atlantic. Africans continued to come to Bermuda during the early 17th century. Some came from the Caribbean on English ships, while others may have come directly from Africa. The history of Bermuda is quite unique because of its accidental discovery and the diverse mix of people who settled there. St. David's Island in Bermuda is a small place, about 1 square mile, that was one of the first islands to be settled in Bermuda. It used to be separate from the mainland until a bridge was built in 1934, connecting it to the rest of Bermuda. Even though it was geographically remote, it was still at the center of Bermudian life. Historians believe that St. David's played a significant role in the arrival of Native Americans who were enslaved in colonial New England and brought to Bermuda to work. This happened during the early 17th century, when conflicts between European colonists and Native Americans led to the capture and enslavement of many indigenous people. St. David's also became home to Scottish and Irish prisoners from the English Civil War, who lived alongside Black and Indian slaves. The people on St. David's Island became a mixed population due to interactions between different groups. Historical records show that white and non-white women had children of mixed ancestry. There are different explanations for this mixing, with some suggesting tensions between Indian tribes prompted the importation of Carib females, while others believe most of the Native Americans in Bermuda were females. In the 18th century, Portuguese immigrants arrived in Bermuda, contributing to the island's agricultural industry. Bermuda had open immigration policies, and many Portuguese immigrants became naturalized Bermudians. They brought relatives, bought homes and land, and hired immigrant workers from their homelands. This immigration continued into the 20th century, especially with large construction projects and the growth of tourism. St. David's Island also became known for its significant U.S. military presence, including Fort Bal-Kindley Field, the Kindley Air Force Base, and the USNAS Bermuda. From World War II until its closure in 1995, the base hosted tens of thousands of young servicemen. Many people on St. David's Island believe that they directly descend from Native Americans. This belief has been passed down through generations, supported by oral stories, written references, and family records. Even a dental study in 1960 found a specific tooth shape common among Native Americans in the children of St. David's Island, adding scientific validation to their long-standing legend. The belief in Native American ancestry is a crucial part of the identity of St. David's Islanders today. Researchers wanted to explore whether the history, ancestry, and diversity of this community are influenced by their past. They looked at genetic variations among St. David's Islanders, expecting to find Native American genetic traits. They also considered influences from West African and West European lineages due to centuries of mixing from slavery and cotton. The genetic study of St. David's Islanders, representing about 6% of Bermuda's population, reveals a unique and diverse ancestral history. Researchers analyzed mitochondrial and Y-chromosome DNA samples and family histories from 111 individuals, identifying 29 maternal haplogroups and 12 paternal haplogroups. Only one person had Native American ancestry, distinct from Caribbean and U.S. populations. Maternal or mitochondrial ancestry showcased a predominant African origin of around 68%, specifically from Central West and Southeast Africa, with ties to Brazil. About 31 had maternal roots in Western Europe, notably Portugal. Genetic distances highlighted the uniqueness of St. David's Islanders, with affinities to West African, Caribbean, and Brazilian populations. Limited connections to European populations were observed, while Native American links were distant. In terms of paternal or Y-chromosome ancestry, 66% had roots in Europe, indicative of a British Isles connection. One-third had African paternal ancestry, likely linked to the transatlantic slave trade. Native American paternal ancestry was minimal. Historically, St. David's Islanders showed surprising genetic connections to Central and Southern Africa, suggesting English involvement in the slave trade. European haplogroups are traced back to early settlers, including those from the Azores or Madeira. The genetic landscape reflects a multiracial society emerging in the 17th century, with Europeans, Africans, and Native Americans coexisting. Despite British colonial history, St. David's Islanders assert indigenous ancestry from New England, showcasing a complex mix of Native American, European, and African lineages. This study highlights the intricate genetic tapestry shaped by historical events